So we've stopped by the Mojang offices here in Stockholm to find out a little bit more about a game that's we don't really know that all that much about. Scrolls. Can you tell us what's the concept behind the game?
Well, it's pretty much a collectible card game, as they're known. You know, people know which one we're talking about.
Something about the gathering, right?
Something. But with the addition of a board, so you have the positional gameplay as well. And also there's timing elements. So it does play fairly different from that. But I think other aspects will be very similar, like the collecting, and we are aware that the huge investment for players to start a collectible game is a deterrent for many. So we really want to make that part easier on people. That's what we've talked about, but there's a lot of considerations that weighs into that with pricing and.
So when you start a collectible card game, because I've interviewed a few developers who are trying to do this virtual collectible card game, and some of them go with the approach that, you know, we like Magic the Gathering and sort of the numbers crunching dual stuff.
Yeah.
Others want to go in a completely different direction and don't want the two big numbers crashing and seeing who wins. What's the philosophy in Scrolls?
That was a tough question.
Is it too complex to describe?
No, well, we have this base that Jacob and Marcus figured out, and so there was an early prototype, and since then it's been playing, testing, having opinions, meetings, and just hammering out what feels fun, because honestly that's a real challenge, making a turn-based game fun and not slow and not too brainy. You know, the brainy parts need to be there, just like there are brainy parts in poker. But you also need some chance to blame when you lose.
You need that dice roll somewhere along the line.
Yeah.
So what's the structure? Is it one-on-one or how's the game going to play out?
Yeah, it's one-on-one. Yeah, it's pretty basic and simplistic almost. You have two sides to a board, and you have 15 positions each. So you play your units or creatures onto the board, and then you have other scrolls or cards that can affect them in various ways. And the goal is to destroy something we call idols, which it's life counters that you have in the back of the board. Using your creatures, let them.
So the creatures works as both as defense and offense.
Yeah, exactly. And you have defensive creatures and offensive creatures, and you have creatures that do weird stuff like make your creatures go faster. And
so what sort of ideas go into sort of designing a deck? Are you limited to just using the numbers that you can use on the board for one round, or how do you sort of design that? And do you want players to have lots of decks, or do you just want them to have one deck that you're using?
No, lots of decks, definitely. That's one of the best parts of a collectible card game. Trying to design your own deck and try to figure out, if I do this, is this efficient? Will this surprise the opponent? Or just making a deck for fun, like what if I do a deck that only has a sheep and lots of walls in it? I don't know.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe that will shock your opponents.
Yeah, it will, and you will lose probably. I've done it. And I think that There is room for a very competitive end game in Scrolls. What we've seen so far is very promising. That it is, if you're better than your opponent, you will probably win, and definitely if you have a better deck, you will win. So there has been some really intense games during the development and testing. We have had what do you call it, tournaments in the office, and some of those games have been quite intense. Everybody standing around waiting to see. Yeah.
So do you have any sort of special structure in place so that the climax is really big, or because sometimes when you play these games, the outcome is pretty early on. You can sort of see where it's headed, and then it's just a matter of playing it out and making that happen. Or do you have, or is it designed in a way that there are a lot of things that can happen along the way and totally change things? Or
that's one of the aspects of what I talked about before, that we're trying and we're evaluating and we're changing stuff. So a while ago, you definitely had the effect that you could see who would win, and then it took a long time for him to win. But we've changed stuff, and now it's a completely different game. So I've seen many games that, surprisingly, they go back and forth, and I lost my last tournament fight against Jens in that manner. I was so confident that I would win, so I made a mistake and he won. Yeah.
And well, I know you're not really keen on sort of timelines and stuff like that, but where are you at in development right now with Scrolls, and sort of how do you feel about, you know, bringing it to a larger audience?
We are very close to start bringing in people. We're at the point where we really need external people to look at it and give us feedback and see what doesn't work, and also the technical stuff. Like we need loads to try our servers. You know, we have tons of logic on the servers, which can cause problems probably. So we're at the state where it's interesting to get people into it, and we're. I'm hesitant to say anything because we've said so much before and that hasn't happened, but I think we're just days from the first pre-alpha where we let a few friends in, and depending on what that says, hopefully we can start a real alpha with at least some of the people who have signed up and so forth.
So fingers crossed.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah.